I think the answer, first of all, it depends. Like, I think on like region and where you are, though my answer is probably yes, it is probably too early, connected to what I shared before. The
The
condition.
return to the school is too
Yeah,
early.
yeah, it's
Right.
yeah. I mean, I think you have to start scenario planning, but I just don't think you can be certain of which scenario is most likely. I think to assign confidence in any of the scenarios would be faulty logic. It's just too far. I mean, it's May now, so if your school begins in August or September in normal years, or you're even thinking about returning in June for the rest of this school year, it seems early. However, no matter what scenario you're in, I think kind of a bottom up planning approach is, so like figure out like what's going to be the broadest baseline of what how people are going to be engaging. So in this situation where it's like this mix or half hybrid or whatever, I would say you put all your design thoughts into the distance element, and then whatever you're able to extract from face-to-face connections, that becomes a layer on top or an added benefit, rather than trying to design for something that's going to have like half groups in, half groups out. You might have populations weaving in and out because of illnesses or other restrictions. Maybe some families just don't feel comfortable yet. And it's hard to design for that. So like, you just never know how the conditions are going to change. But if your foundation of like, all right, in the worst circumstance, everybody is back at distance, let's create that well. But I also think, and this relates to somebody's question down here, that like when this situation hit, most schools were in already had several months of relationships and operations and other routines established. So even moving into a distance setting, you could try to build off of some of that continuity and those pre-existing relationships. When you're starting a new cycle, a new academic or school cycle, there's a lot of new routine building and new norm setting that normally happens in August or September. So it demands a different kind of startup of the school year, and honestly, one that probably should not look like your normal structure of how people are grouped and organized. It doesn't make sense, and it's not probably the most efficient use of resources to still say like, oh, well, we'll have one teacher per 20 X kids. Well, yeah, that makes sense in a brick and mortar setting because of the classroom size, or even maybe because of state or regional mandates as far as ratios. But that may be less true in a distance setting. You might be able to have like a crack team of 2 fifth grade teachers who can actually support 200 students in a distance setting in a different way. And then you have a different layer that's being prepared for either the half return, a hybrid return, or that on-ramp to like a normal return. So that's my perspective on those two questions.
And how do you call this mode of teaching hybrid teaching?
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to get caught up in the jargon,
Right.
like people saying hybrid, high flex is another word I've seen. Like, and you know, that's fun to come up with the clever descriptors to give a name to things, but whatever it is, it has to be. You have to build in adaptation and iteration into it. You have to build in almost structured pause moments so that you can like actually pause and reflect and refine, because that's the only way you're going to make it better, right? If you just go at it, be like, oh, we designed it, we spent a month designing it in July, and like this is what we're doing. But if the conditions are dramatically different in October, you have to have room to be like, hey, hit the pause button, let's retool and adjust, and now let's move forward again. If you put that into your design from the start, it doesn't feel like a scramble or a disruption when those pause moments come.